Oh man, I'm sleepy, man. I just watched that Sony E3 conference and damn near fell off my chair from boredom just watching that shit, man. I mean, even the YouTube auditor passed out in the middle session of fucking himself over that shit, man. Damn. Oh man, that had to be one of the most boring presentations Sony has done in a while, because that was absolutely dreadful. You know, I'm not even referring to the content of the games, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm just referring to the presentation itself, the actual game plan they had to convey their games to us. You know, initially I thought they started out with bang, with that live band for some Southeast Asian music and shit like that to introduce the final Uncharted content that we're gonna see from Naughty Dog, the Lost Legacy DLC, whatever the fuck that shit is. I'm getting it, I don't give a fuck. Oh, I'm definitely getting that shit. Then they show the video of Horizon Zero Dawn's upcoming DLC, which so far, we have to admit, has been the surprise hit of the game of the year. And then finally you have Days Gone, which is like The Last of Us meets 7 Days or some shit like that. Then you get Scott Layton, walks out, talks for a whole 3 minutes, then shifts back to showing video games, and more games, and more games, and more games, and clips, and footage, and vignettes, and then that's it. He talks for a few more minutes, thanks everyone, and sends them on their merry fucking way. That was the whole conference. It was basically just an hour-long video showing what's coming to the console, either as an exclusive, third-party multi-platform game, or an ass-kissing game like Destiny, which Sony paid a shitload of money for just for some time content. And here's the funny thing. For anyone that has seen these conferences before, they usually follow the same concept. Microsoft just did theirs the day before Sony, and they followed the same concept as well. Someone comes out, they welcome you, thank you for buying their console, then you get a few different people that come onto the stage and present something a little different. Doesn't matter who the person is, can be a console company employee, can be an exclusive studio president showing off their next game, whatever the fuck it is, can be a celebrity presenter, or just an intro video into something different and unique. It sort of breaks up the show a little bit, you know what I'm talking about? Personally, I never really liked that format. I always wondered, why don't you just show off the fucking games and footage? Why do I need to hear from Joe fucking Schmo about their game when you could just show me what the fuck you're launching? I felt like it delayed time from transitioning from one game to another. I don't give a fuck how great some asshole thinks the game is, how powerful they think the console is, how many fucking exclusives they think the console has. That shit doesn't matter. Show me the fucking games. Sony did that, and it bored the fuck out of me. Ain't that some shit? I finally get the presentation I have wanted. I finally get footage of just games without the intro, without the expose, without fucking presenters. And it turns out that I actually like the presenters. That's some fucking funny shit, man. If you haven't seen it by now and you actually want to watch that shit, you can go to Sony's channel and actually watch just an hour long of all the fucking footage. All content, no filler, no bullshit from studio heads or watching two jackasses pretend they're playing a fucking game when it's literally just a staged fucking demo. I got an hour's worth of games. And it bored me. You know, Microsoft's presentation, having different people come out, is something that's become sort of the standard with these E3 conferences, or basically conference presentations in general. And while I haven't liked that format before, seeing it against Sony's 1 hour presentation, it certainly wasn't as boring. Now, in all fairness this year, we have to give some credit. Sony really doesn't have much to talk about. You know, unlike Microsoft, that was showing off Xbox One X, which has to be the stupidest fucking name possible. You know, Sony wasn't rolling out anything new other than their games. You know, PlayStation Virtual Reality is already out. PlayStation 4 Pro is already selling. Vita is still a neglected piece of shit. They had that social gaming crap that they announced before the conference and whatnot, and a couple of other games that were pre-announcement conference, whatever the fuck. So they didn't waste people's time with a load of shit. The only things they really had to talk about were games. And who the fuck wants to just talk about games? Show me the damn thing. And that's what they did. And for some reason, I found that shit boring, even though they didn't have any filler in their presentation. So it's a matter of, you can't win if you do all the extra talking, and you can't win if you do none at all like Sony just did. You know, I guess for me, they need to sprinkle in just a little bit of talking every now and then. Maybe for the newest projects or some shit like that. Maybe for items that we haven't seen yet or we don't even know about. Which brings me to the actual games announced that they had during that video. You know, aside from a few key things that we saw, there really wasn't anything new that people didn't already know about. I already mentioned the intro with Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Days Gone. The only game that seemed to elicit a reaction from the crowd was the remake of the Shadow of Colossus. It's not a remaster, but that shit is an actual remake. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be the first one in line to buy that shit. Damn right, motherfucker. Monster Hunter seems to be coming back to the console after like, what, a 7 or 8 year absence or something like that. Call of Duty and Destiny got their additional trailers, but we already know both games are coming out in 2017. God of War has a release window of early 2018, and we saw a bit more footage this time around, so we know the game is coming. Spider-Man showed up their gameplay, and it appears to be mimicking Rocksteady's Batman game to a certain extent, obviously not fully, but appears to have certain imitations of their Batman game. Then there was that, what is that, the Detroit Almost Human game with the Grey's Anatomy actor who didn't pay his child support. Fucking clown complains about inequalities, then forgets to pay his child support. Get the fuck out of here, man. Anyways, you had that. You had the Marvel versus Capcom showing or whatever the fuck that shit is, and a shitload of virtual reality games, including fucking Final Fantasy Fishing. Really? Final Fantasy Fishing? What in the fuck? And then I think they had some Skyrim crap, whatever the fuck, man. Anyway, before the show, Sony also announced some other things like, I think Knack 2 was in there, Matterfall, which, oh god, I saw that shit. I was like, please tell me you're not making another Haze. Please tell me this is not a sequel to Haze. Whatever the fuck. It was called Matterfall, not Titanfall, Matterfall. And then, of course, Gran Turismo Sport. All of this shit was coming out in 2017. That would be impressive. But the thing is, Sony's already knocked it out of the park in early 2017, way before E3 even happened this year, which is a big reason why I think this conference was so lackluster. You know, Neo, Horizon Zero Dawn, Nier Automata, they already kicked off the year in style. They put 3 exclusives out in succession, which are basically all in contention for Game of the Year awards or some kind of awards at the end of the year. Plus, they avoided the crowded market that comes up during the holiday season, so it was pretty smart on Sony's part to release all their exclusives. So while the conference certainly wasn't impressive, and it was fucking boring as shit to watch, you can see why. With nothing new to announce on the hardware end, like Microsoft had, without a top-name exclusive game to showcase, without the shit that Nintendo has to go through, Nintendo's still sort of in their launch period, you know what I mean? They still have all their games coming out so they can announce all their new shit. Most of the shit that Sony was announcing is their exclusives being saved for 2018, and probably those games that we saw in the video are going to be launching before E3 next year. So if they waited any longer to put that shit out there, it wouldn't even be used in next year's E3. So you can see why a video of all that shit became extremely boring. And you have to assume that some of the games that weren't on stage yet are probably not coming out until after E3 next year. So Final Fantasy VII is at least a minimum over a year away, probably more like 3 years away from releasing and shit like that. The Last of Us 2 is probably not coming till at least 2019 if you look at Naughty Dog's schedule. Dreams from Media Molecule seems to be in development hell permanently. Who the fuck knows when that game's coming out? And then that basically leaves Sucker Punch as the only studio whose current project isn't known as of right now. Could be another Infamous game, could be something new. Nobody knows. Nobody's heard from them in a couple years, but essentially you know they have to be working on something. So with the lead that Sony has in console sales right now over Xbox, it's easy to sit back and just let the console do all the work for you. But I would have figured that Sony would have wanted to be a little bit more aggressive on the market this year, knowing Microsoft was going to be revealing Project Scorpio. I figured there would be at least one major announcement, which probably could have been Shadow of the Colossus, but they just kind of threw that shit in there, you know what I mean? They could have had this grand fucking reveal, this motherfucker, like, this one is coming, and then, no, hey, it's just coming, and guess what? You're gonna have fun with this shit. I don't know why they just did that. That could have been a very good announcement that they would have had. So anyway, I guess the only thing that people can just do now is wait until next year to see if any of these future projects actually get release dates. Otherwise, it hasn't been a terrible year for Sony. They started off the year with a bang. It just seems that by this point, their conference, they really didn't have much to do other than set up 2018 as another exclusive heavy year. But you know, they had a real good chance to stomp the shit out of Microsoft. But instead, they sat back, they sang everyone a bedtime story at their presentation, put in motherfuckers to see, say, hey, come back and see us again in 2018. So if y'all want to see some good sleepy material, go ahead and go watch that Sony conference. Essentially, you're just going to be watching an hour-long worth of fucking demos and trailers and shit like that. You're not going to see anything impressive. Although some of the games do look impressive, you're just not going to see anything that's like, wow, this was fucking amazing. But anyway, you can't blame Sony too much. They haven't really had anything to do other than release those major games this year, so they've pretty much been kicking ass on the games front already. You just would have expected more from them. So anyway, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.